Hey everyone, if you're diving into realms of pixel tech and magic, you probably already know that progress in this game isn't exactly lightning fast. Getting duplicates and maxing out your heroes, especially those rare Advent and Ascension ones, takes serious time and dedication. That's why making the right investments early on is super important. You don't want to waste resources on mid-tier heroes when you could be building a powerhouse squad that dominates every battle. So, to save you from regret and help you make the best choices, we've put together the ultimate realms of pixel tech and magic tier list. In this video, we'll break down which heroes are absolute must-haves, which ones are decent fillers, and which ones you should avoid at all costs. Whether you're a new player trying to build your first strong team or a veteran looking to optimize your roster, this guide has got you covered. Let's get into it. I'm quickly moving on to the video and I'm ranking heroes in realms of pixel tech and magic. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of tier list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching.
My friends, only 0.1% of viewers subscribe. If you like this type of content, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you in advance for your support.
The heroes in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Justice Bot, Axe Wielder, and Rose Scholar. Alright, listen up, because we need to talk about some of the most unfortunate heroes in realms of pixel tech and magic. Yeah, you know the ones, the heroes you pull and immediately think, well, that's a waste of pixels. Today, we're looking at the D tier heroes, and let's just say, these guys are best used as stepping stones for your actual team. Let's start with Justice Bot. Now, don't get me wrong, in the very early game, this little tin can kinda pulls its weight. It's got decent single target damage, it applies burn and DF down, which sounds great, until you realize that the second more than one enemy shows up, Justice Bot just completely malfunctions. It's like throwing a toaster into a battlefield and expecting it to win. Yeah, not happening. Once you get better heroes, just recycle this guy and move on. Next up, we've got Axe Wielder. He's basically Justice Bot's edgy cousin. Same deal with early game usefulness, solid single target damage, and hey, at least he applies bleed. But the problem? He's obsessed with only attacking the front row. That means if there's a big threat in the back, he's just gonna ignore it like it's none of his business. And just like Justice Bot, he falls off hard later on. So yeah, cool axe, bro, but you're getting benched. And then we have Rose Scholar. Oh boy, this one's a special case. Imagine being a scholar in a world of magic and tech, and your big contribution is slowing down front row enemies. That's it? No real damage, no game-changing effects, just a little inconvenience for the enemy like, oops, I guess I'll take half a step slower now. Yeah, that's not gonna cut it. If you're using Rose Scholar past the tutorial, I respect the commitment, but please, let it go. At the end of the day, these heroes aren't completely useless, they're just stepping stones. They exist to be used and discarded, and that's okay. Every game needs its fodder units so you can appreciate the actual strong ones when you get them. So, level them just enough to get by, then say your goodbyes. And hey, if you're still using any of these past mid-game, I gotta ask, are you okay? Like, blink twice if you need help. The heroes in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Emissary, Pyro Knight, Light Bane, Gun Maiden, and Neo Sakura. Alright, listen up, because we're about to dive into the most almost good but not quite heroes in realms of pixel tech and magic. You know the ones, the heroes that seem solid at first, maybe even carry you through a few early battles, but then reality kicks in. They start feeling like that one friend who insists they're good at a game but always ends up last on the scoreboard. Yep, today we're talking about the C tier heroes. Decent, sometimes useful, but ultimately outclassed. Let's break them down. First up, we have Emissary, and if you like freezing enemies, you might think, hey, this guy sounds amazing. Well, hold your frostbolts. While Emissary can freeze enemies, the chance is pretty low, so don't count on it saving your life. His crit chance does ramp up over time, which is nice for longer fights, but here's the problem, there are better crowd control heroes out there. And on top of that, he really needs a ton of star ups before he starts feeling strong. So unless you're ready to invest, he's just fine. Next, we've got Pyro Knight, who is technically an AoE DPS, but he's got a weird niche. He hits all enemies and reduces their healing, which sounds super useful until you realize that if the enemy team doesn't have a healer, his biggest strength is completely irrelevant. Also, his single target damage is pretty bad, meaning if you need someone to burst down a threat, Pyro Knight just kind of waves his flaming sword around and hopes for the best. He does have self-sustain and some dodge, so he's hard to kill, but there are just way better AoE heroes out there. Now, let's talk about Light Bane, arguably the best epic hero in the game. And before you get excited, I mean the best epic hero for the early game. He's an excellent back row DPS who can silence enemies, which is super useful at first, but later on, yeah, he turns into fodder. You'll eventually replace him with someone stronger, so enjoy his power spike early, but don't get too attached. Gun Maiden is next, and honestly, she's actually really solid. At first, she hits both the front and middle rows, which is a pretty good damage spread, especially early on. But, like Lightbane, once you progress a bit, she becomes just another hero you feed to your stronger units. Basically, think of her as your starter weapon in an RPG, helpful but not something you keep forever. And then we have Neo Sakura, who's a bit of a weird one. She's a single target DPS who applies both bleed and poison, which sounds amazing, until you realize that most fights involve multiple enemies and she doesn't handle that well. If you're up against a boss or a tough tank, she can put in some work, but in most battles, she just doesn't do enough. Like Gun Maiden and Lightbane, she's good early, but not worth keeping long term. So what's the takeaway here? Well, C tier heroes aren't bad, but they definitely have limits. They'll carry you through early battles, and some of them have really cool abilities. But in the grand scheme of things, they'll eventually get replaced. If you pull one of these heroes, don't panic, they can still be useful. Just don't expect them to be your endgame champions, and there you have it. Your rundown of the almost good but not quite great heroes in realms of pixel tech and magic. Which of these have you used before? Did any of them overperform for you, or did they let you down big time? Let me know in the comments. And of course, if you're enjoying this breakdown, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe for more tier lists and breakdowns. Catch you in the next one. The heroes in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Promeneur, Sakura Blade, Snowshade, and Wallflower. Alright, let's talk about some B tier heroes in realms of pixel tech and magic. These are the ones that aren't game changers right away, but can definitely pull their weight if you know how to use them. Some need a little love, aka star ups, while others shine in specific situations. Let's break it down. First up, we've got Promeneur, our reliable rear row DPS. This guy doesn't come out swinging at first, but once you build him up, he's got some pretty nasty tricks up his sleeve. The biggest highlight? He prevents enemy revivals, which is huge in late game fights. Oh, and if you're up against the mana class enemy, he can slow them down, giving you the upper hand, but he's not that great early on. You'll need star ups to make him pop off, so if you're looking for instant impact, Promeneur might not be your guy. Now, let's talk Sakura Blade, and yes, she's just as cool as her name sounds. If you need a front row DPS that can shred enemy DF and even stun them, she's got your back. Plus, she throws up shields for herself and her allies, making her a solid frontline option. The catch? Well, she needs a couple of star ups before she really starts doing her thing, and her passives? Meh. Let's just say they're not winning any awards. Still, if you like aggressive, in-your-face fighters, she's a strong pick. Moving on, we've got Snowshade, and let's be honest, he's kinda fun to use. His poison and paralysis effects can make enemies suffer over time, and he's pretty solid when facing multiple opponents. That said, he's not amazing at single target damage, so if you're looking for a boss killer, he's probably not your best bet. Also, his poison chance is kinda low, which can be frustrating when you're banking on it to land. But hey, when it does land, it's sweet. And finally, we've got Wallflower, the quiet MVP of healing. She's got solid heals and even cleanses debuffs from allies, which is super useful in fights where enemies love to spam status effects. The problem? More DPS is usually the better option, so unless you really need the extra sustain, she might not be a must pick. Oh, and to make her a top tier support, you need 11 stars, which, let's be real, is a lot of investment. Still, in the right setup, she can absolutely keep your team alive when it matters. So, are these heroes worth using? Absolutely, but only if you're willing to put in the work. They won't carry you straight out of the gate, but with the right upgrades, they can be real game changers. If you've got any of these heroes, don't sleep on them. They might just surprise you. And that's a wrap on the B tier breakdown. Got a favorite, or maybe a hot take on one of these picks? Drop it in the comments. I want to hear your thoughts. The heroes in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Cloudcaller, Moonshadow, Mystic Claw, and Blossomfly. Alright, let's dive into some of the standout heroes from realms of pixel tech and magic. If you're looking to bring some serious power to your team but don't quite have those S tier heroes, then A tier is where you'll find some real gems. Let's break down some legendary heroes that pack a punch but might need a little extra TLC to truly shine. Let's start with Cloudcaller. This hero is an absolute lifesaver when it comes to healing and buffing your team, especially if you're lucky enough to land this legendary hero. Not only can she heal your allies, but she also cleanses DPS heroes, which is a game changer in tough fights. But Yeah, there's always a but. She does get outscaled by other healers as the game progresses. Plus, she's one of those heroes that really needs some star ups to hit her full potential. If you're okay with the grind though, she'll definitely be a powerhouse. Then we've got Moonshadow, and wow, is she a force to be reckoned with. One of the top tier legendary heroes, she can execute enemies one by one, slowly picking off your foes with ease. On top of that, she applies dive down, making her even more dangerous when paired with the right heroes. Early game, she's amazing, but there's a catch. Her DPS falls off if she doesn't get resets on her ultimate. Also, she struggles a bit against single target enemies. Still, in the right setup, she can clear a whole wave without breaking a sweat. Now, let's talk about Mystic Claw. She's great for dealing damage in the middle and rear rows, making her super versatile. What's even better is her ability to target the enemy rear row with normal attacks. And that magic backlash effect, it's reliable enough to do decent damage, though it's not exactly the best DPS source out there. If you're still in the early game, Mystic Claw can hold her own without too many star-ups, but as you progress, she'll eventually be outpaced by other heroes with more solid damage output. Next up, Blossomfly. If you're in need of a rear row DPS with some serious utility, she's your gal. Not only does she dish out damage, but she also lowers enemy accuracy, slows them down, and even stuns them, making her a nightmare for the enemy backline. Plus, she can poison enemies with her normal attacks and is immune to poison herself. But here's the kicker, she needs another hero to apply poison to the enemy rear row for her to truly capitalize on this ability. Also, she needs a few star ups to really get going, but once you've got her there, she's a beast. Moving on to Cloudcaller again, did I mention how versatile she is? Once you get her to that star up point, her healing and buffs will make your entire squad feel unstoppable. She'll be able to cleanse those nasty debuffs and keep your DPS heroes alive through even the toughest fights. But again, if you're not in it for the long haul, she may not be your best pick. It's a bit of a marathon, not a sprint. Moonshadow's one of those heroes who thrives in the chaos of multiple enemies. Her ability to execute foes one at a time means she gets stronger the more enemies are on the battlefield, but if you're up against just one big boss, she can feel a bit underwhelming. Keep her resets coming and she'll do her job well, but don't expect her to carry you through single target scenarios. Mystic Claw has some pretty unique traits for a rear row hero, especially with her reliable magic backlash. She's not the absolute best in terms of raw damage, but her consistent damage over time is pretty solid, and she's definitely a great pick for your early game lineup. However, just keep in mind that as your team grows and you unlock stronger heroes, Mystic Claw's damage might start to feel a bit lacking compared to the big hitters. And finally, there's Blossomfly. She's the kind of hero that will get more and more dangerous as your team evolves. Her stuns, slows, and poison attacks make her a fantastic disruptor in battle. If you're able to combo her poison with other heroes and level her up, she'll become a key part of your strategy. But if you're not focusing on building around that poison synergy, she might not be as effective as other DPS heroes in the long run. So there you have it, some of the best A-tier heroes to include in your Realms of Pixel Tech and Magic team. Whether you're looking for strong healers, versatile damage dealers, or disruptive backline heroes, these legends have the potential to turn the tide of battle, though they do need a bit of nurturing to truly shine. The heroes in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Ember Maiden, Abyss Queen, Lost Flower, Lance Lord, Aura Knight, Etchwitch, Oathkeeper, Crimson Wolf, Fire Princess, Starlight, Shadow Rogue, and Immaculate Moon. Alright, buckle up because we're diving into the world of Realms of Pixel Tech and Magic, and I'm about to introduce you to some of the absolute powerhouses in the game. These heroes are the ones you want on your team if you're aiming to dominate the battlefield, but don't expect them to carry the day right out of the gate. It will take some star ups to truly unleash their potential, so let's get into it. First up, we've got Ember Maiden, and let me tell you, she's a beast in the front and mid rows. She's a DPS dream, shredding armor like it's paper, and on top of that, she buffs her allies. Yes, you heard that right. She's all about teamwork. The more Advent heroes you throw in with her, the stronger she gets. But here's the catch. You'll need a lot of star ups to make her really OP. Patience is key, my friend. Next, let's talk about Abyss Queen. She's the kind of hero who will make your whole team feel invincible. She heals, cleanses CC, and even takes damage in place of her allies. She's basically your team's personal bodyguard. But just like with Ember Maiden, you need to pour some star ups into her to get her to that next level of greatness. And then there's Lost Flower, the ultimate support hero. She's got shields, heals, and even a summon that can keep your low HP allies alive. But here's the twist, she can resurrect an ally by sacrificing her summon. Now, that's some serious team-saving potential. But again, she's a bit underwhelming at first and takes a while to really shine with those star-ups. Now, if you're looking for someone who's all about the counterattack, look no further than Lance Lord. Every time an enemy hits him, he's ready to hit right back with some crazy DPS. Plus, he can revive himself, so he's not going down without a fight. But the downside, not many other heroes that rely on counterattacks, so you'll need to build a team around him to really make the most of his abilities. Then we've got the Aura Knight. And this guy is a total beast when it comes to damage. He deals percentage-based damage, which is super handy for cutting through those tanky enemies. The longer he survives, the better he gets, thanks to increased stats and control immunity when his HP is low. But just like the others, you're going to need a few star-ups to unlock his full potential. If you're in need of some insane AoE DPS, Etchwitch is your gal. She targets all enemies, poisons them, and even immobilizes them right from the start with her passive AoE attack. But while she's a fantastic pick for beginners, you'll need a lot of star-ups to make her top tier. Plus, her single target DPS leaves a little to be desired. But hey, that's the price of going all in on AoE, right? Next up is Oathkeeper, who is a solid frontliner with a ton of utility. He can target the enemy's rear row and stun them, and he even gives lifesteal to all your allies. Talk about team synergy. He's also got great single target DPS, but overall, his total DPS isn't the best. Still, he's a great hero to have in your arsenal. Finally, let's talk about Crimson Wolf. This guy is a damage dealing machine. The more he attacks, the more he shreds enemy DMG red, making him a nightmare for tanks. Plus, he can cleanse himself every turn, so he's pretty self-sufficient. But just like the others, Crimson Wolf requires a few star-ups to really hit his peak. So, there you have it. Whether you're looking for DPS, support, or tank busting abilities, these heroes are your go-to picks in realms of pixel tech and magic. Remember, they might not be OP right out of the gate, but with the right star-ups, they can become absolute legends on the battlefield. Choose wisely and happy adventuring. The heroes in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Life Sage, Vanquisher, Dark Flame, Dark Oracle, Lunar Sprite, Riptide Blade, Shadow Queen, Scarlet Muse, Black Pearl, Moon Princess, Sakura Fox, and Sword Sage. Alright, let's dive right into the absolute powerhouses of realms of pixel tech and magic, where the heroes are basically just flexing their skills and showing off who's boss. Today, we're talking about the S+ tier, and trust me, these heroes are insane. You'll want to grab them, level them up, and watch them tear through your enemies. But hey, don't get too comfy. Even the best need some time to hit that max potential. Let's break it down. First up, we have Life Sage, and let me tell you, this hero is like the Swiss Army knife of DPS. Full AoE damage? Check. Immobilizing and debuffing every enemy on the battlefield? Check. Oh, and she can even bring herself back to life once per battle. Talk about making a comeback. The only downside is that she needs a lot of star-ups to reach her full OP status. But when she does, well, let's just say your enemies won't know what hit them. Moving on to Vanquisher, who is just the ultimate guardian in every sense of the word. He's a single target damage machine that locks down enemy DPS heroes with his immobilization. Oh, and instead of your highest 80k hero, Vanquisher takes the hits. He also adds some of that tank damage to his ultimate, making him one of the best tanks and single target DPSs out there. Vanquisher's a solid pick if you need someone who can handle damage while still dishing it out. Next, let's talk about Dark Flame. This hero is an absolute beast, combining both single target and AoE DPS, buffing herself and your highest 80k ally, and just being generally unstoppable. The best part? She's insane even at just 5 stars, but once you fully star up her, oh boy, get ready to watch your enemies burn. Now, if you want some serious AoE DPS, Dark Oracle is your girl. She ramps up team-wide DPS with her DOT damage over time stacks, and the synergy she has with DOT heroes is ridiculous. She's one of the best at stacking the DOTs on enemies, and if you've got a DOT team, Dark Oracle is basically a must-have. You'll be wiping out entire waves of enemies without breaking a sweat. Lunar Sprite? Don't even get me started. This hero is probably one of the best supports/healers in the game. Lunar Sprite can heal the entire team, bring back allies with low HP, and provide both insane offensive and defensive buffs. But wait, there's more. When she dies, she gives revival to all allies. Yup, you heard me right. The whole squad gets a second chance. Talk about a game changer. If you're a fan of assassins, Riptide Blade is your go-to. With crazy single target DPS and the ability to stop enemies from reviving, she's basically your secret weapon. While she needs a bit of star up to really shine, once you've got her maxed out, she'll leave enemies wishing they never crossed her path. Shadow Queen is next, and she's the ultimate support attacker. She targets low HP enemies and lowers their healing and damage reduction. But that's just the beginning. Her insane DPS and debuffs through support attacks make her a must-have in teams focused on support attack damage. If you want your support heroes to do major damage, Shadow Queen is your gal. Last but definitely not least, we have Scarlet Muse. She targets the back and mid rows, applying random DOTs and increasing the max stacks and damage of DOTs on enemies. She can even make those DOTs uncleansable, which is a game changer in longer battles. If you're building a DOT stacking team, this hero is a must-have in your lineup. So, there you have it. The S+ tier heroes that will make all your enemies shake in their boots. Each one of these legends brings something unique to the table, whether it's insane DPS, unbeatable healing, or support attacks that can win you the game. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.